So the cooking thing I'm still learning, but I've learned a little bit about it from my grandmother. The laundry took me a little while to learn, but I learned with my grandparents.
He doesn't understand fully the concept of money, that without money you will not go any place, and you will not eat anything, and you will not live anywhere. And maybe he understands, but not as comprehensive as its neurotypical will do this. And we tried to give him some money, for example, for a week. But in 1-2 days, they were disappearing. In so many ways, he manages to lose money that we are worrying how he will survive. So, because of this, we created trust. And when we will be not able to take care of him, it will be a trust, and bank will take care of him.
We tended to disagree a lot because of the generation gap. So I'm 28, my grandfather's 80, almost 80, my grandmother's 75. So there's a very big generation gap. It was tricky because they were very loving, but at the same time my grandparents could be very stern as well. So, because she's my grandmother, and two, because she still feels like I still need a lot of work in terms of being a more organized person, so she tries to help me out with that. And because she's my grandmother, and because she is a little bit, maybe a little bit neurotic and over-controlling sometimes, I feel like she doesn't always know when to stop or when to, not go over a certain line pretty much. You really have to tell her grandma, back off, I need some space.
You know what's a very bad feature? He doesn't listen to advice. You recommend him something, he doesn't give you a chance even to open your mouth. He says, I know, but he doesn't know. And he says all the time, from my experience. What kind of your experience? You don't have experience, but he cannot realize this, he cannot comprehend this, and this is a big issue.
It would be great if people, neurotypicals and non-neurotypicals, could allow people on the spectrum to be more independent rather than being too protective of them.
There are 6 students in our classroom. I've been working with Jake for 6 months. In my job here at Anderson, I work with the participants. We come to school, we work on everything from handwriting to science to reading, math. We practice communication skills. Jake is actually working on a phone call skill, so he learns how to answer the phone, say, hello, my name is Jake, classroom 117, who is calling? And then right now we're at the step of him learning how to actually listen to who's calling, because he just wants to say his stuff and hang up the phone. So in social studies today, we worked on the map of the United States. He figured out pretty quickly the Gulf of Mexico and the Great Lakes, and he can tell you all of those things on the map. So he goes up to the board with Barbara and puts them up, and then he can also do it on his own paper and show you exactly where it needs to be glued on. You have to accept that, you might have to be helping someone use the toilet. You might have to, and you have to be okay with that. And that can be really hard for a lot of people. I love my kids. You have to make sure that your students, your participants are on task. You have to make sure they're safe. And unfortunately, we do have aggression. We do have self-injury. And so you're going to have to worry about both of those things. And so it's just really knowing your students and being on top of them, which is a little exhausting. Today, Jake did a delivery for the tissues and gloves. So once a week, he goes around, he goes classroom to classroom. He knocks on the door, asks, hello, do you need tissues or gloves? He goes and gets it. He counts out the tissues. I just help him with the sizes for the gloves. And then he brings them in. When they say thank you, he's wonderful. He says, you're welcome, have a nice day, and walks out. For Jake, we're really working on seeing what he can do so that someday maybe he can hold a job, because he is so verbal and because he is just so high functioning. Perhaps one day he'll have his own apartment, who knows?
Transition is complicated. It's not just 21 years old that makes individuals no longer entitled to school services. At the point that you're entitled to services for adults, some of the challenges are finding residences in the community. We will only develop one IRA, or group home, a year. But we may have up to 18 people graduating. And if we only have 5 or 6 in each house, obviously that's less opportunities, residential opportunities. Because funding is not dependent on how many people need services. Funding is going to be capped and limited. As an organization, the challenges are in, number one, finding appropriate housing for individuals. Additionally, there's funding issues that are associated with any level of care that needs to be provided. And what's gone on in New York State is that they're limiting the funding, and thus the options for individuals for more intensive care is not as available as it once was. They're saying that not all the individuals who previously used to go into day habs and group homes need that level of care. And they're now saying, well, the best way to sort of handle this is to keep individuals at home in the community with natural supports. And I believe that the Office of People with Developmental Disabilities has said that their focus is going to be on creating supports to keep folks from not having to go into group homes.
These people are very naive, and this world is very cruel, and it's so many people who can take advantage at naive people that it's made me feel very upset, and some days I have sleepless night, and this is what comes to my mind, that so many people can take advantage of him. He doesn't understand. He believes that everybody is his friend. He is very social, only through media, social media. He doesn't feel complexity of life. He doesn't know. Because everything is, whatever problem arises, it's solved for him. How he will survive in this difficult, very complicated world worries me a lot.
I'm not so sure that James will ever be 100% independent. I mean, as far as, him physically and everything like that, I don't have any worries really for James. As far as James grows older and, eventually I'll be gone, I don't know, what's going to happen. It's an unknown. None of us are going to live forever. So I have, in both my will and just with my daughter and others, should I pass away, I know they'll be taken care of well. So I think I got him in the right place, and I think he's going to do fine.
These are normal people that just communicate differently. They have their good days, they have their bad days, they just tick a little differently, they communicate a little differently, but there's really nothing wrong with them.
Working with students with autism, it just requires a little bit more patience sometimes. They learn things at a different rate. Students with autism can do pretty much anything a neurotypical student can do. You just have to give them the opportunities. Maybe they won't be able to read as well. They may need picture icons. They may not be verbal. They may need another form of communication, but they can still answer all of your questions. You just have to give them the appropriate tools.